We are
We're live.
all right. We're going. I'm gonna try calling her again in a second. My phone was acting weird. So let me try calling her real quick. Keep talking about the doohickeys on what we want our main problem to be.
And
Go ahead.
so I'm just like looking really quick on, okay, so I see performance appraisals. I see all the information in here. And I'm looking at the citations. So it looks like whoever did performance appraisals, they got a lot of other information from other sites. Great.
That was me and Michaela.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So that should be pretty much done, I believe.
Yeah, it looks done to me. Like,
and then you can just take all the sites and just post them at the end. I think they have to be alphabetized, but
yeah, I can alphabetize them. And so I like how you cited them with the name and the year, like in the parentheses, because I think that's how she wants it. So I think that all looks good. I'm just scrolling down to teams here.
Kayleen, good suggestion. That's what I was going to suggest too. What you did suggested for Michaela.
Oh, okay.
I tried calling and it went straight to voicemail. So.
Yeah, I don't have very good luck clicking on the links in the emails. If I just go through Hangouts, I can usually get on. So
the references, like the citations for teams, is it the very last thing in the paper? It's references on the page.
Yeah, it's
references about yeah. There's like, I don't know, 6 on there, maybe 5.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the solutions. Okay, so I see, like, I don't see a lot of citations in the solution part. Like, you know how like you can put them in parentheses with the name, like where you got that idea from? Because like solution number 2 doesn't have any, like, and number 4, I don't see any.
No, they're not referenced in the solution. They're just as from the bottom. I can go back and add that in later.
I had
it as footnotes on mine. When I do mine, I usually put them as footnotes so that I can refer to them, but I don't have them cited in the actual problem solution.
Okay, that was like what I had done, and I thought that's kind of what she was aiming for, but I don't know if you got any different vibe from how she wanted those citations done.
I don't know that she has a specific way of doing it, whether we want to cite it directly in the middle of our written report, or if we're just going to do it as footnotes, or if we're just going to have a mass bibliography at the end. I don't really care either way. We just have to decide which is the way we're going to do it, and everybody do it that way, in my opinion.
I personally like the footnotes because that's what I encounter when I'm reading contracts every day. They don't have everything. They have the references in the footnotes and the little numbers, like the tiny numbers in there. I think it looks polished. That's just my opinion because I'm horrible. I told Jennifer this. I'm horrible at formatting because contracts don't follow formatting, English formatting rules.
I've never done the footnotes. See, I've always done in-text citation.
Yeah, me too. Pretty much all the classes I've taken online have had me do the in-text citations. So I'm feeling like a lot more comfortable with in-text, especially. So I'm thinking like she most likely gets a lot more in-text citations than footnotes. So that might be what she'd be expecting.
Should we ask her?
We have enough time. We might as well see if she has a preference, but I think as long as we're uniform one way or the other, we'll be fine. But we may as well send out a Q&A out there.
Yeah,
and see if she has a preference.
Do you have insight? Can we do insight?
How about we do it on the question board, because other groups might have the same question.
Okay.
Yep.
And it would save her from answering multiple. And I'm going right now to this week's question board.
That's true. Maybe it's already on there.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Good call. How about I look real quick?
Look and see. It might be on there.
Sherry, you had another question. What was your question that you and I were talking about putting out there on the question board?
Oh, yeah, I wondered, were we supposed to act like we're submitting it and use I, or are we saying we? Like we, our solution, or
I think it's I.
first person? I just didn't know.
I think it's gonna be I.
What is it called to put the citation? Is it just
In text?
in text citation?
So you do think it's first person that we're?
Well, yeah, because the whole scenario is like you've been hired as the new HR representative, and what are you? So and she says she wants the whole thing to be uniform, as if one person is writing it. So
Oh, okay. So
it might just be safe to act like we're just one individual.
okay, I need to fix my part then, because I think we acted like it was our team project.
There were no questions on this week's question board.
Oh, good.
Well, maybe we ought to pitch that one too to make sure, because even if we are an HR representative, we can be a company representative, and we can be doing this third party to third party, company to company. So maybe it doesn't hurt to ask, and that way we don't have to make changes unnecessarily until we get direction.
Oh my gosh, yeah, let's work smart, not long. All right, let's do this.
What do you think, Jennifer? How is it?
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Yeah, it was soft.
Oh, I just said, Jennifer, how do you think it's looking as you're looking?
It cuts out the last half of what you're saying.
I wondered what you're looking at the paper. What do you think?
Oh, I'm looking at the paper. Yeah, I was just looking to see how we had written it, and I wrote my part as like, I recommend that we do this. So I used I as, yeah. But yeah, we can see what the teacher says on the discussion board.
Okay, I added the second one, Kayleen.
Great.
So hopefully we'll hear back for both.
Yeah.
I'm preferential since I was working on diversity, but does diversity seem to be the main project, like the main problem we've encountered or think that we've encountered doing this project?
Well, out of our three, I guess. I don't think she's looking for like the right answer though. Do you think she's got one in her mind that it's like, oh, well, it has to be this one, and if they don't get this one as their number one, then they did it wrong? I don't think it's that.
I don't think so. She wants us to sell it, whichever way we decide, we got to sell it is all.
I think it's got to go with whatever we have the most information on.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I don't think we have enough information for teams. That's for sure. We haven't learned that much about it. We have the most on diversity or sexual harassment. I don't know. We didn't.
See, and I thought we actually had a lot of information on the teams because they were already talking about unionizing, and there were lots of opportunities to fix the whole company morale with the employee changes. So I kind of thought we had a lot with that. I haven't looked at anything that was put out there for performance appraisals or diversity yet, so I can't speak as to what other people put on theirs. But after looking at that and seeing the solutions, it seemed like we could fix a lot of problems with the employee morale and everything just going through the team options. So I'm kind of partial to that one, but I'm fine either way.
That's hysterical because I was thinking.
What I meant is we haven't learned. That could come up later on because in our learnings for the weeks, we haven't learned that much about.
No, she skipped over it. It was like in week 2, and it was like a quarter of the class for that week, and that was it. It moved right on into performance appraisals. So
it's just like our citations. If we have a lot more material, if we're taking it from the class on diversity and sexual harassment, is all I'm saying.
Right, that's true. We have more class citations if we use it on one of the other topics.
Well, and
the only thing we did as to teams really was that Army case rowing thing. So there really wasn't a whole lot. And I don't think I can't imagine that there would be any like Title VII type documents that would address teams. I think it's just a company culture thing.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting
us if we're not using a lot of in-class citations.
Say that again?
You think she's going to dock us if we're not using a lot of in-class citations?
She said she can pull from other sources.
Yeah, she specifically said we need to use other sources. So I think she's looking that we went outside of class citations, right?
Well, in one of I agree with that. She did say multiple citations there. And I feel like she said in one of her videos, there's lots of good information when you're looking at HR sites and things like that. What I really like about Kayleen's approach is no matter what we choose, all three of our options work together. So it's not just if you fix teams, you'll fix everything. But every piece we chose adds towards fixing the company as a whole. And I think that we need to think of that when we decide which are most, what is it supposed to be called?
Like our biggest problem?
Our biggest problem is. Because in my mind, as soon as Kayleen said that, my thought went to teams do fix it, and then the diversity would help morale, and then was our third sexual harassment? I'm sorry. Performance appraisals. And both of those will lead, if there was a performance appraisal policy and a diversity policy, it would lead to better team morale. So the two others lead into the team. So I agree with Kayleen that teams should actually be our biggest problem. And as we're writing the other two sections, cater it to the point of, hey, I think appraisals should go first, and then diversity, and then the last one being teams. And I think if we don't have enough, we can also reflect on how it affects the team in the other problems.
I like
the thought.
Yeah, I like that's a good way to for our conclusion too, to explain that by fixing these, we're fixing our number one problem of teams. So if teams is our number one problem, our solutions for that are things like writing a performance appraisal policy and writing a diversity policy. Although, what else would be our solutions? Where we kind of like pick and take from everything to solve teams?
Well, it says it can't be that you can't talk about the same thing, though.
Oh, does it? I thought we were supposed to talk about the same one.
Explain which.
Well, we can't just cut and paste it. Yeah, we have to elaborate on it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we could give a sample diversity. Like, we could say, here's our diversity statement that we've written, and here's I don't know. Is that how we fill that in?
It says this section should not be a repeat of what you talked about in the problem or solution section, I guess, on just that problem. So just in the teams then, if that's what we choose.
Oh, okay. So I have a different idea.
Okay.
So in the conclusion, does it specifically say the conclusion should only address the biggest problem, or the effect solving all three problems would have for the company? Because if we don't do any tie-ins between the three problems and then only tie them into the conclusion and how we came to not even how we came to choose teams, because it's not supposed to be that, but a write-up that sort of elaborates, beginning with teams and building up team morale, will lead to a diversity policy and an appraisal policy. Sorry, I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I'm just writing things down while you're talking.
I'm trying to find my document that I had printed at work today.
It seems to me like if we were, that would be a good way to launch or to finish off the memo as hey, we have done an evaluation, and out of the 3 problems, one as having a big impact.
I can't hear.
And in the conclusion, we say, and after we've done that one and we've got that been working, we can be working on, you know, the diversity and the performance appraisals kind of in the background, ready to launch those immediately, and we can knock out these next 2 problems shortly after we get the team issues resolved and see how start up and employee turnovers drop. So right there at conclusion, I'm not sure.
Kayleen, you're cutting in and out.
I can't hear.
Probably
I can't hear.
be able to fix that.
Okay.
I understand what she was trying to say. She said that the conclusion should include a wrap up of our biggest problem and then associate that our next steps are to coordinate the diversity program and then ending with the performance appraisals, kind of giving a look ahead at what
Bless you.
want to.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
So I like that. So we do have time, but are you guys, I don't care either way, but are you a, hey, let's get it done and turned in early group? Or do we want to just wait until it's due?
I don't know. I'm kind of like a get it turned in early. I would say let's get it turned in if we could by Saturday night. I mean, but what do you guys all think?
Yeah, me too.
So I fly out on Friday night to Boston, and Saturday is my big day. So I would love to take a stab at the conclusion and then get that over, if everybody's okay with me taking a stab at the conclusion and then getting that over to everybody in the document by Thursday. And then if there needs to be alterations. So do each of us have to turn it in, or do we just have to turn it in once per team? Because you know how it says
for the discussion board.
Yeah,
Discussion board too.
Yeah, add that one on.
I'm going. Hold on.
Oh, it says team leader. It says the team leader goes to the next page and uploads. It's the team leader for this week. So
Natalie, you might turn it in.
Natalie, you are the team leader. It sounds like you turned it in, but
Oh, sugar. All right.
I didn't think you were going to say sugar.
We're recording this, and I signed an honor code, Daniel. No, that would not be my normal first.
It was a static of the connection, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, sure.
One of us could probably turn it in with a little comment below saying Natalie's out of town. We offered to turn this in on behalf of our team leader this week.
Like, yeah, well, and I can say that too. Like, I'm going to turn in the team leader assignment because I did the shell of it today, and then when we change to the case studies in just a minute, then I'll make the individual notes to it. So it says, let's see. Where's the doohickey paper turn-in? Oh, right here. Okay, so sorry, my sister's getting her hair done downstairs, and my best friend has the funniest laugh, and I just heard her start laughing. So if I start snorting, it's her fault. Okay, so yes, I agree. Okay, so we all have to remember that we need to do by Tuesday, because of the holiday, the group peer review as well. So I want to remind everybody that. And it looks like, yeah, the group leader needs to do that. So what I'll do is I'll actually email her if one of you are okay turning it in, because it's going to have to probably have a final polish anyway. Yeah. Even after the conclusion's written. And then by me getting it over to Thursday, I'll send an email to everybody when it's in there. because I don't pretend to be the best writer or be the most articulate at all. And then I think that we could probably turn it in early. And if she comes back and says, oh no, it needs to be you, then I get to the hotel at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Mountain Time. So, I mean, I can log on if I have to and turn it in. I don't think she's going to be that strict. I think she'll understand.
I think so too.
Okay.
I don't mind volunteering to turn it in. I'm home all weekend this weekend. So
I'm going to a Red Sox game this week.
ooh.
Well, that's good, Jennifer, too, because you have it already, you know, formatted in the Word.
Yeah, if I already have it formatted and I have the copy, I don't mind copying it in. Don't worry though, I'll make sure I get all your approval. I won't turn anything in before I've got the okay from everyone.
Can you imagine?
No,
Sorry.
I just had that happen to me in a different class where we were working on a group project, and for some reason, one of the people in my group thought that the due date time was 11 a.m. and so she just went ahead and submitted it, and it was 11 p.m. and it was not done.
Oh my God!
I was just so mad. I was like, seriously.
What grade did you guys get?
Well, so then when I realized that happened, because I caught it that night when I got home from work and realized that it had been turned in. And so then luckily I emailed him and got a hold of him, and he said, just email me the project once it's all completed tonight. So then I emailed it to him, and I think he worked it out, but I haven't seen the grade yet. We just turned it in last week, so we don't. I hope it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare for
Yes.
me.
I kind of like got after her. I was like, seriously, 11 p.m. Everything's due at 11 p.m., not 11 a.m. Yeah.
I think, once my thought process is to make sure everybody has their finger on the paper. Once Jennifer gets all of it in there and I add the conclusion, what I would suggest is everyone read through it. And even if it's not your team's portion, to make edits, or it's only going to be better with peer review, and to polish it a little bit, and then it will make sure that all of us have a piece of it. And then once we agree on it, I mean, we might agree on it on Friday, you know, it's not necessarily something we have to wait on.
Yeah.
So you're going to write the conclusion. Do you want me to write the introduction?
Ooh, that would be perfect.
Okay, I'll write the introduction. And then we have everything else except for that D, which is the focus problem.
Yeah, the number.
Well, that's the conclusion, though, right?
Well, that's like a separate part.
Different.
Yeah. So the conclusion is in addition to the focused problem. So let me. So when I'm looking at.
Wait a second. I think they're one and the same.
They are. So the most critical well, no, because it's separate. So the most critical problem will go through the first problem, the first two solutions, the second problem, the second two solutions for the second problem. Then we'll focus on the most critical problem and the offered solutions, and then the conclusion. So the conclusion is how it's just going to wrap up, basically.
Wait a second. Where is conclusion in the doohickey overview in this instruction list? Because I don't see any conclusion. I just see where it goes down to 5D, it says which one is going to be a priority.
Okay. So I am seeing a conclusion on the email that Kayleen forwarded to us. Now that you say that, I remember having the same question. So hold on just a second while I pull it up.
Daniel, I get that you don't see it on this, but it was on something I wrote down. It's, you know, it all.
I think that our teacher, she made like a video about and how to do the project.
It's under number 6, include an introduction, conclusion, and works cited bibliography. So that's separate from the 8 to 10 pages.
Well,
I don't know. I think it's, I mean, it says introduction, conclusion, and works cited, and then in each section of the paper, including the problem, solutions, and the most critical problem.
Mhm.
Well, the problems is what which one, the three choices, the solutions, the four solutions,
Mhm.
and the most critical problem sounds like the conclusion. I'm not making a fuss. It just seems like it's the same, one and the same.
I don't think it is. I think it's a separate issue. I think we do the three problems and their solutions, and then we choose and elaborate on the biggest critical problem and how we're going to address it. And we need to add more facts and more citations and more information in that, and then we do our conclusion on that.
Okay.
And then
That's my understanding of the reading, anyways.
She said that's what everyone always messes up on, and that's why. Yeah, she said that's what people never get right, is that's the most crucial one is D.
So what's interesting to me is I'm looking
Well, I'm fine with doing the initial draft of the critical problem and getting that started out there, and then we'll need everybody to kind of take a look at that, maybe add in, you know, some information from other sites, other sources, add in extra lines. But we can, Sherry and I did some pretty extensive other work and had other details, so we can take from what we already have and throw together a pretty good section on the critical problem to get us started, and then we can, everybody can kind of take a look at that and elaborate as necessary.
I like that.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the email now, Kayleen, that you got from Sister Jeff's. And the one thing I want all of us to agree on is, so it starts with an intro, then it talks about problem one, the two solutions we chose for problem one, problem two, the two solutions. Well, that's what's
you keep saying like, two, I say four.
I agree with four. Mm-hmm. Her email only went through that. But then after problem two, she just says most critical problem. So are we supposed to do a condensed of the most critical problem and then elaborate, or is it all just one section?
My understanding is that she wants us to take, like, if we're going to do teams, then we're going to take our problem and our proposed solutions and kind of wrap that up, but not just a cut and paste. Does that make sense? We want to elaborate a little bit more. We want to explain a little bit more where we identified our problems, where our solutions were going to be. Maybe take our bullet point solutions and elaborate, you know, maybe some more action steps in there and say, we plan to hire somebody to do this, 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 and this. If we open, you know, buy this kind of software, we can do da, 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 da. So she wants us to kind of, that is my understanding, is we want to make it like this. That's the key proposal of the whole thing, where the whole report is going to say, this is what we see. These are the main problems and possible solutions, but this is what we think you ought to do and why. Okay. And then we wrap it up. That's how I see this.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So it's almost like we do an overview, but include the three choices and their four solutions. And then when you get to the most critical, that's when we do the meat, you know, the bread and butter of teams. Like
that's how I see it.
I love that. And then the conclusion after, and then the introduction. So we have right now, conclusion, I'll have you guys by Thursday, if not tomorrow. The introduction, Sherry, you're going to work on the introduction.
Yeah.
Critical problem, you're going to start Kayleen, you're going to start the most critical problem. Daniel,
I'll have that in there and completed by tonight, at least the general bare bones version of it.
Yeah. So. And then we can fill in the extras, like we can add some, you can add, like if you think about it and some things come to your mind, just put like sentence starters that can lead us to more information. And then Jennifer's going to end up doing the remaining format. So Daniel, how do you feel about being like one of the last peer reviewers, just reading through it? Perfect. And then what we'll do is I'll compile what we just decided in the assignments, and we'll have Michaela and Daniel be the main peer reviewers. So also add stuff if you see, you know, a lead in or you see something online, obviously add to the most critical problem. But because we have between 8 and 10 pages, we have to be pretty. So
we have to keep it short. How long does my intro have to be? Oh, my intro doesn't count as the 18.
No, so it doesn't count as one of the pages. It's more of a
paragraph, or how long is it?
Yeah, I would say a paragraph or two at the most.
In most proposals, it's about 2 paragraphs, 2 short paragraphs, not anything extensive. At least in contracts. That's my only frame of reference.
And you are we starting and you are putting this all on something new, Jennifer?
Yeah, should I I'll make something new. I'll just do it right after our meeting. I'll just
start
a new page.
Okay.
With the format.
Okay, perfect.
On Google, and then we'll just share it so everyone has it. So
and then we agreed I think that as long as until such time as Sister Jeffs comes back and says, oh, hey, I'd rather an end citation page, I think we should just plan in-text citations. I think that sounds like it's the most familiar to us as a whole. Okay, so I'm good with that. And so in-text citations.
Yeah, unless we hear otherwise.
Yeah. And then did she make any specifications for like page numbers or anything? I didn't see that, and I didn't hear it, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
See anything? Just Times New Roman 12.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And we did decide APA, right?
APA.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to Google that.
Everyone will just have to when we get it completed, like just look through the citation if that looks like if it looks like APA. That's the one I'm most familiar with.
I used a generator last night that messed all mine up, and Kayleen's like, "Yours are wrong," and I'm like, "They are." And then I looked at everybody else's, and they were different. And I went to it's like Citation Producer.
Okay.
I even did it again, and it did it. It put the date first.
So I go to EasyBib. It's easybib.com, and they give you, I've never done APA through them, but that's one of the options. But I bet there's another APA citation generator. Let's see.
It seems like when I was out at the Purdue OWL, it was AMA. Is it APA?
APA, yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why mine didn't match up with yours, because I was doing AMA, and it gave me all the citations for AMA.
No,
I didn't know there was another one.
No, yours were right. Yours matched everybody else's. Mine.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like author's name.
Yeah, but mine didn't have an author, so.
Cool. What was it?
It was a website.
Yeah, mine didn't either.
Oh, a website.
Oh, I'm gonna include the free site I just found. It looks a little more organized than the one I said. So
okay.
Anyway, so I apologize, but I seriously was just, I stuck it in and it makes it for you, and I just copied and pasted.
Oh, you're not alone. That's what I was planning on doing too.
Cool. All right. Well.
Okay. So do we all feel comfortable with our assignments and what we are going to have done this week?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to include that. And then, so let's shift gears for our last, 15 minutes or so and talk about the cases. That sexual harassment case made me uncomfortable for that manager that overheard that conversation. And it made me even more uncomfortable that she asked him not to do anything and he agreed.
Yeah. I think he needs to report it. Even if she says no, I think he still should, because he needs to be protecting other women it might be happening to. And too afraid to do anything about it.
Well, it's also a liability if it came out. So if she filed a claim and it went to court and it was found in discovery that he did not report it but knew about it, whether or not she told him not to, he as a manager could put his job at risk. Yeah. So that's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's a human story, and that's the thing that we sometimes forget is it's easy to judge and say, oh, he should have, but really when you put yourself in that situation and that's his friend, of course he acted exactly like you would suspect that he would act. It caught him off guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, gosh, this is a guy I like go out with. And like, he just didn't have time to process it. He tried to do the right thing. And when she reacted the way she did, he's uncomfortable. He doesn't really know. She's crying and begging him not to. And he's like, okay, like, I won't tell anyone, like, you know. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact that it was like a real human story. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and what I found interesting is in all of the seminars that when I was in HR, they made me do, there's a lot of talk about taking the sexual part out of the definition, because what we learned about the quid pro quo, the hostile work environment, all of those fall under harassment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have the misnomer that if nothing sexual occurred, innuendos or otherwise, then it wasn't harassment. And you don't need that portion for it to be against the harassment policy. And so when I was reading it, I was thinking more of in this situation, the accused was a pig, I guess, with how he was behaving. Mm-hmm. But some of the other examples they said through the thing, not all of them had to do with, they all applied to sexual harassment. The quid pro quo, hey, sleep with me or you don't have the job or you're fired, and things like that. But hostile work environment, for me, all my experience with that is when someone is just unpleased with your production or how you have completed a job, or they're threatened by you and they make your job very difficult. They create roadblocks, they create rework and all of that. So all my personal experience with doing interviews of that nature was straight harassment. Just, it's a hostile work environment. Get out of it. Let's start an investigation. So it asks me to ask, I love these setups. It's so fun. It tells you exactly. Ask one student, what is sexual harassment? So if we were going to focus on those two words, what is sexual harassment? Anybody?
An unwelcome sexual advance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like what you said, though, about how it doesn't always have to be physical in nature. There doesn't have to be any, it's just like you feel threatened, someone like threatening you in some way, and it's making you feel uncomfortable and threatened, even though there may not be any physical contact or there may not even be any like sexual words said, but they're using threatening. I just think they should take out the word sexual harassment and just make it harassment or bullying or something. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's like a power play that they're trying to make themselves powerful over you. So they're dominating over someone.
Asserting their power. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I liked this. So in the case study, when DeCoste, whatever his name is, when DeCoste called the counsel's office, first of all, that he did right. Hey, let's call because I don't know how to do this. One of my concerns from there is he's in management. He should know exactly what the company's policy is on it. And so that kind of struck me as, do they not have continuing education for the management? Their employees could all be in bad situations if they're not getting training.
he called the lawyers. I would have thought he should have went straight to HR and not gone to legal. But I don't know. Where I work, we have a separate HR department that. So like, if I had a problem with someone, I wouldn't call our general counsel.
Yeah.
Well, as a man, like as an executive, that wouldn't be uncommon for him to call general counsel because of the liability to the company.
Okay.
But in general, when there's a policy, it goes to HR. HR will discuss with the general counsel, and the executives can decide whether or not they actually want to go that route. But that's why there needs to be a policy. When you put it in, you put in the steps that, unfortunately, first protect the company, second protect the employees. Because most of them that I've read, they protect the company first, and then they protect the employees' rights. Right or wrong, those are just the ones I've run into. Do you think that he got the right advice, though, from the council?
Yeah, the council told him to report it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the right advice.
And then he ignored it. So I pretty much, I would love to hear your guys' opinion on why would you think that the company that he's dealing with would insist on a formal harassment policy? So based on
Can you
what you read,
repeat that?
Oh, absolutely. So the final question for this case study is just says, why might a lawyer representing this company insist on instituting a formal investigatory process for purposes? They're protecting their company when they do that. If they set up an investigatory process, they also make the employees feel more comfortable because they outline what their rights are, who will know what, how far the anonymity goes, because at the end of a harassment investigation, it doesn't always stay private because it gets around a company. And so no matter what HR tries to do, by having an investigatory process, they're telling the employees, you'll be protected. You're not going to lose your job if you report this. We're going to investigate it. But it also protects both of them by saying, at this point, if it goes this far and we have to investigate further, we need to ask you if we can disclose you as the complainant. Kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're right, though. They do need to have a real clear policy and maybe do some trainings on it or something so people know.
Well, if you work in certain states, I just went through a sexual harassment seminar because we have jobs in California, and the state puts on seminars, webinars, and all of it, and explains their state's policies. And so it's not expensive and it's advantageous. So I bet every state has this program.
Yeah, I know working for the church, I have to do an annual yearly like education training thing that we do it once a year. So probably most companies probably have that. Most big companies.
We just had a teacher. We just had a teacher at where I work. 2 teachers. I mean, I can say this because I hopefully you wouldn't know any people, but we had 2 teachers that were in a consensual relationship at a high school, and then they ended it. He ended it with him, and he didn't want it to end. So he started harassing her, and she told him to knock it off, and he wouldn't. So then he came to the HR department, and the HR, I'm the executive assistant to HR, the HR, and filed a claim, and have a sexual harassment policy.
Wait, say the last sentence again. You cut out again.
We do have a sexual harassment policy, and so what happened is we immediately started an investigation, and we instantly investigate his emails. We withhold all of his computer access. He had all of the text messages and everything. We had so much evidence that showed he was harassing her that he ended up just quitting before he got fired. But we had a sexual harassment policy in place, and our employees are, everybody knows about it. We talk about it all the time. But I just thought, like, this stuff does happen all the time, and there's so many different levels. Like, I wouldn't have thought, when you think about it, I wouldn't have thought of that as being a sexual harassment. Like, they were having an affair, and then she stopped it, but he didn't want it to stop, and then it turned into a sexual harassment. You know what I mean? Like, it was so crazy. It just happened.
Wow.
When I was looking up, sorry, Kayleen, go.
No, go ahead.
When I was looking online for different stuff for diversity, I was running around a lot of other sections of HR, and a lot of the suggestions online talk about how companies should have a non-fraternization policy. It does not necessarily stop it, because my company has it, and 2 of our employees got married. But it does protect both the employee and the company in those circumstances. So that creeps me. I feel so bad for that teacher. Jeez.
Yeah, but they were equal, and you always think of, I don't know, in my mind, I don't know why sexual harassment, you always think of like it's like a boss or someone higher up harassing someone in a lower, but these guys were like equal, and it was a consensual, and then it turned into creepy, It's just,
yeah.
And he was great. Like, he was going to be like the assistant vice principal. Like, he was being offered like a really great job. Like, everything just crumbled within weeks.
Wow.
None of us saw it coming.
Well, if you want to hear a quick story, I don't want to take up too much time, but you all know I work for the church, and it's not a perfect organization, because we still have to employ people with all of the problems and issues that we have. And so I was just recently involved in a situation at my work where it was a hostile work environment with one of my coworkers who was, and I didn't realize for many months that it was harassment that was happening. It was things like catching me alone in like the hallway or at my desk, showing me stretches, asking me questions about, like, just getting a little too personal. And at first I just thought, oh, well, he's just trying to be friendly. He's trying to get to know me. Like, and I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. But after like more and more time went by, and he'd come to my desk and ask to use my lotion, and he would rub it on himself in front of me. And that's when it started getting, worse and worse. But it was one of those things that took me where I realized that part was sexual harassment, because I had to meet with HR about it. Because that part was, because he was using his body to make me uncomfortable. So it was sexual harassment, but then it was also kind of a hostile work environment, because it was making me like really uncomfortable. So I've actually been through an investigation and had to like give testimony against someone, and it was a pretty difficult time. Yeah. And I mean, I think
what happened. Did he lose his job, or did he get moved to somewhere else?
He resigned and quit. Yeah. He was put on leave during the investigation, and it kind of like dragged on because they had to bring in more women. And I don't know what other women testified, because we all have to keep super quiet about it. So we can't even share with each other what we've been through, but other people were brought in and talked about it. And so I know that investigation went on for 2 weeks, and then he resigned. And we unfortunately, because we all still work there, we've kind of signed this confidentiality clause where we don't say the specifics and we don't talk to each other about it. But yeah, so I probably wasn't the only victim, but I'm glad it's over.
So that's what I was thinking about in this case that we read about. Wouldn't her boss, when the investigation comes in, would they put him on leave right away when the investigation starts or not?
It's dependent on the company's policy, but generally if there is any other, because Jennifer, you may not have been the first person to mention being uncomfortable with it. But it just depends on, one, the severity of the claim, and two, the proximity of the accused. And generally, it also includes how aggressive the HR department is as well, because it's all live people. So even if they have a general policy, like clearly he had complete access to Jennifer.
Yeah.
Enough that he could just walk over. So not like being that way during an investigation. My guess, Jennifer, is other people made comments that they felt uncomfortable as well.
Yeah.
And when you came and discussed it, it just hit that limit of we have to do a full investigation.
I think that's what it was. Because when I reported it to my manager, eventually when I kind of finally caught on and realized what was happening, this was in January. When I reported it, like they took action immediately. The next day he was on leave and he was gone out of the office. And so I'm guessing that he had things already going against him. And I was just the last straw, because if this was the first offense or the first time anyone had made any accusation against him, I don't think it would have jumped that far that fast. But
I just felt like if DeCoste or whatever his name is would have known the policy or known what, he could have like reassured her, you're not going to lose your job. If anything, he's going to be put on leave and you're definitely not going to be fired or let go. If he could have reassured her what the steps were going to be taken place, but he didn't have the knowledge or know what their policy was. He didn't know what to say or do.
Yeah.
So he could.
That's a really good point, Sherry. That's what I was going to say is I think that one of the biggest reasons, well, there's two big reasons for having a policy is one is it makes it objective. Everybody can know what the policy is. These are the steps and it's very cut and dry. So it's not a subjective thing anymore. So whether you're the one that's being reported against or the one that is doing the reporting, you know that there's just a hierarchy of things that have to happen. And so that makes it so that anybody can feel safe to report whatever's needed because they just know it's a standard policy, almost like, when you go to the bank and you're going to open up a bank account, there's these steps. You fill out the application, you bring in some money. It just is, And so when you have a policy in place that is everybody, and it puts everybody on equal ground. It doesn't matter whether you're the CEO or the, floor sweeper. Everybody has the same policy and it makes it a fair ground and it's standard procedure from that point forward. The other thing is from the perspective of management, having a policy in place allows them, or if it's done right, it should help curb any problems because people know what's going to happen to them if they violate those policies. And so it should work both ways. It should free up the victim from so that they report more and they're not scared to, and they understand what the consequences are going to be of them taking action. And then it should also help deter that kind of behavior because everybody knows that you will get put out on leave, that there will be an investigation, that you will potentially be fired or whatever, you know. So I think those are two really important policies. And Sherry, you brought that right into there. It's really important that we have those policies in place. Some are better than others, and some people don't have. We don't have a very good one at my office, and we're a law firm. It's like a page and a half in our notebook, and that's it. And so every year they sit down, they have us read it and sign it, and that's our policy. And we, you know, they don't go any further with that with us. So, but other companies make it a big deal, like you're saying, Natalie, where you have to be trained on it, and you have to watch webinars, and you have to do that. You know, some companies make it a much bigger deal.
What do you think, Daniel?
I concur.
We're all talking all the time. Poor Daniel doesn't get a word in edgewise.
No, it's fine. I think he did right by calling. I think he shouldn't have told the woman, but I think he should have told the lawyer that this is something needs to immediately happen. He only made it worse when he talked to the employee. He put himself in a bad situation.
You're very right, because the last part of the leader discussion says for me to read to you what happened in the Lone Star situation, which was the second case study. And so it goes, when Jack called corporate counsel, he forgot about the caller ID. The lawyer used the information he gave her to figure out the people he was talking about. She contacted the Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up her story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DeCoste and French that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. So,
Wow. That's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was awful.
That's real life.
No, it is.
Oh,
like, the beating up of the wife, like, just blew my mind, because she was convinced he would attack the guy who was harassing her.
That's why she freaked out and cried and said that she didn't want, I mean.
Insane.
Yeah.
As if being a victim of sexual harassment isn't bad enough, but then to have your spouse turn on you and blame you for that, and then inflict physical abuse on top of that. Poor Julia.
Yeah.
Seriously. Maybe she learned not to have, I mean, this is tongue in cheek. I don't mean this, but like, I'm uncomfortable by this topic a little bit because it just makes me so angry. But there are certain conversations you should have at work where other people can hear you. And there are certain conversations, if you don't want anybody to hear, try going outside. Because I have overheard things I absolutely should not know about my company. And it makes me worry that one day it might slip because I can't unlearn something.
Yeah.
Right.
No, wow.
I think we just need to like educate our people and know that they have rights. I think that's why it's so important we have that Me Too movement going on right now. It's getting women, but also men involved, saying like, hey, this harassment may have happened, but we don't have to stand for it happening anymore. So like empowering people to stand up for themselves is an important solution.
No matter what the circumstances.
Yeah.
The only thing that I got frustrated with the Me Too movement, and I'm a Me Too person, was they focused so much just on the sexual advances. And I just feel like the other, like, hostile work environment, like I elaborated on earlier, they get overlooked. Yeah. Almost like they're not a problem. And like you didn't know that you were being harassed.
It took
other people are probably dealing with the same thing. Oh, shoot. Sorry, my phone.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty much running out of time. Are we about, what do you guys think?
Oh, we're done. We are at 58 minutes. So I'm pretty sure that that's good. So I'm going to do the leader discussion is to put together a harassment policy. So I wrote down a lot of the comments you guys made, and I'm going to turn it into parts of the policy. Training, education. Kayleen, I love your more than a half a page, but what you said when you said be detailed and put in the steps that happen if an investigation were to occur. Because you're right, it's not individualized. It has to be uniform across all of those problems. And then so I'll turn that in, and then I have the email all written about what we're doing for the doohickey assignment. And I'm going to send an email to Sister Jeff's just to confirm that there's not going to be any issues with Jennifer turning in our paper. Kayleen, you said you'd have the basic shell of the critical problems tonight.
Right.
And then Jennifer, when you put everything after the meeting in the Google Docs, can you just send us all an email real quick? Just say, hey, it's ready.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably go in there later tonight and start putting my thoughts together for the conclusion as well.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll send y'all an email.
Put it in there.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming, guys.
Kayla, was she ever here?
No, so I sent her text, and Kayleen gave her the other advice to join via the Google page, the Hangouts itself, and she wasn't able to get in anyway. So I'm going to just make a note of that at the end of the leader assignment. At this point, I don't know, because this is the second week that she had a lot of problems. She indicated in the text message that it did start working and then it cut out. So I'm not really sure what happened. So I might send her an offline, because I've done Google Hangouts the most. I've never used Zoom.
Can she watch the recording like Sister Jeff does?
Yeah, she can. We're supposed to put what I can do is I can send, like you guys did, I'll send the link to the meeting, the completed video, also to everybody. So she can at least watch it to understand why we came up with teams, why we came up with the assignments.
Yeah.
If I can make a suggestion, just to tell Michaela, one of the classmates we had in one of my other classes wasn't able to get on, and so she just answered all the questions and submitted them either via email or put them in the Q&A. And so she says, hey, I tried to get on, but I got stuck at work and I couldn't do it, but here's all my answers to all of the discussion questions. So it may be worthwhile. She may be able to get some points for participating, even if she couldn't get on, if she does something like that.
I like that. I will. Good job, Kayleen. You're full of all these good suggestions.
We got a plan next week.
Well, I was thinking, let's make her the group leader. That'll force her to be at the meeting.
Thanks, that's right.
Well, what if we also, and I'm willing to try this, maybe we ought to try a Zoom meeting with one or two of us and see if she can't get on with Zoom better, and we can do a test run, or at least a test run with Google before the meeting. That way we can try and make sure to work out any bugs before we get back on officially. Just my thoughts.
We don't know when she can do it, though, without her here. We don't know what day next week.
Well, we can text her.
Yeah.
So we can pick a day, and if it doesn't work, she can let someone know. So depending on the day.
And we only need a couple of us.
Yeah. So. And depending on the day, I may not be on the call. But I'm going to do what was suggested and answer the questions no matter what. And just hope that I can sneak away from whatever we're doing to join. So,
I can do any night next week.
I could do, next Tuesday, the 29th, or the 31st, but I might have to sneak away. That one's kind of a tricky, I might be able to make it work type thing.
On Tuesdays, it's so fast to read everything.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I have 2 concerts on the 29th and the 30th. Both of them start at 6. So if we, if we did the 29th or 30th, I could do what I'm doing now, where I could join on my drive home. Thursday night would be better for me. And Friday works either. I could do any time Thursday or Friday night.
So do we just want to say Thursday?
I think Thursday works best. I am not going to be doing anything special that night, so I think I'll be able to join. That works best for me.
Away, I'll probably just be on my phone or something, FaceTime, like the Google on the phone type thing, though. But it'll work.
And what time?
Well, I think she's going to have to do it earlier because she.
Oh, so we're gonna have Michaela lead it?
We could, but it's an idea. Or
oh, I'm sorry. Just the way you answered, I thought you were saying she had. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, you said that, but I don't know.
We don't have to. I was just throwing it out there. Like maybe put her in charge, and that way she's got to figure out her technology.
If not, I could do it.
Yeah.
What's the date Thursday? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
31st.
And then should we just pick a time? I would think that we would present hey, a couple of us will test out a meeting maybe next week, but have Daniel be the group leader for next week. And then we can figure out the technology like Kayleen suggested, and then she could do it the following week.
That's a good plan.
That's the plan. I like that one.
Okay, so what time works best next Thursday?
For me, anytime after 6 Mountain.
6 Mountain.
Yeah, and I like later is better for me. Like I would prefer like 7 or even 7:30, but I know that's probably too late for Michaela. I don't know, but
we've done 7 Mountain before, right?
Yeah,
Mine was 7. I think she just 8 o'clock was too late.
Okay, so 7
So
is
then
the choice.
So we'll say next Thursday, 7 Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. I'll put that in the text right now to everybody. So she for sure at least gets that. Perfect. So I'm on Eastern, so I'm on her time next week. So 10. Oh, that's perfect. I'll be for sure back at where we're staying by then.
How long are you there?
I fly out on a red eye this Friday to Boston. I'm in Boston until Saturday night. Then I'm in Connecticut where I grew up until the following Friday, which I go down to New York City, and we fly out of JFK Saturday.
Oh my gosh, I was having a great time.
Yeah, I haven't been home for 10 years. So we haven't been back there since we moved here in 2020. Oh, I can't say it that way. 2007. So.
Oh, well, have a great time. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye, guys.
Okay, bye, everybody. Thank you.